We got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
Welcome to episode 23 of Coordinated Fire, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast where one of our cast members may have just started the east and west coast of Canada Shatterpoint beef. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We are very, very happy to be joined by a guest this evening. Kyle went out to the British Columbia GT, came out winning that event, which we're super, super excited about. We are going to leave that until next week to do a bit of a deep dive into that tournament, get Kyle to talk about his games and the experience that he had with the British Columbia community out there. So we have enlisted one of the finest in Shatterpoint, one of my favorite people, not only a fantastic player, multiple-time GT winner, and just fantastic overall person, Sam Sweeten, aka Sammy Sweets. That's what I love to call him. Thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Super happy to be chatting with you guys.
Sweet. Awesome. So to kind of give a rundown of this evening, we're going to be going through our usual games played. Myself and Titus both got games in this week. We're going to be hitting on some Ministravaganza predictions, what we want to see next week at Ministravaganza, what we want to see, what we won't see, maybe something off the wish list that kind of surprises us. And then we'll be getting into our primary box spotlight of the maximum firepower General Veers box. So let's start off with Titus. You want to hit us up with your game that you had this week?
Yeah, sure. So I played against Josh, one of our local guys. We talk about him all the time. I played Veers and Krennic. I talked about the list once or twice before, but I like to change it up a little bit on what stormtroopers I'm bringing because we have a wealth of options. So this time I went Veers, Stormtrooper Sergeant, Shore Troopers. That one's pretty set in stone. And then I had Krennic with Snowtrooper Lieutenant and the Death Troopers.
Old.
And so like I was playing a point down, but it was mainly just I wanted to try the Snowtrooper Lieutenant just to give him another shot. So for reference, I was playing into Delta Squad. Josh had Pawns with 7 Scorch on the other side, so it was a little bit mixed up, but it was for the forward deployment sort of thing. Regardless, it was kind of playing, I was playing that static defense sort of Stormtroopers list into Delta, and had a lot of fun with it. The Snowtrooper Lieutenant was pretty good, actually.
What was he? Right?
It was a surprise.
Okay.
I know I've been happy with him before. It is one of those, he feels like a 3.5 in terms of value. He should be a full 4, but like he has relevant abilities is the main thing. The expertise, not good. But his suite of abilities can add up to something. He doesn't feel quite there. But when he does well, he does fine. It was a good game. I remember Josh had Boss and Padme was the other one to get those extra dice going. Turns out we both were very rusty, and I forgot Coordinated Offensive until halfway through Struggle 2, and he forgot his extra dice from Padme pretty much the whole game. So we were both just completely not doing great on our attacks and going, wait, why is this happening? We're supposed to be hitting harder. And it turns out because we were forgetting abilities the whole game. So it was, we had a lot of fun, but it was clearly, we're not in GT shape anymore.
No, we're out of GT season exclusively. We're playing the fun stuff right now, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed the game. And like I said, Snowtrooper Lieutenant, full treat every attack, which shouldn't happen. But like when you get full tree with him, the healing is very relevant.
What mission?
We played odds. We both brought,
odds.
Never Tell Me the Odds. So.
Okay, awesome. Cool. And I got a game in with Kyle before he shifted off to the West Coast. This was mainly a game for me to try another game with Iden and Vader 1, which is a list. Again, I think I've spoken about this before. Chris Sampson is really having a lot of success with this list. I gotta be honest with you, I still don't get it.
I don't particularly like it either, to be honest, having seen it in play. But
yeah, I mean, maybe I need to have a deep dive with Chris. Maybe there's some lines of play that I'm missing. I played it into Kyle's Vader 1 and Cam on Shifting Priorities, which may have been a bad matchup just in terms of displacement coming from that list. Maybe I should have got Kyle to play Delta maybe that's just I just need to play this list against Delta and see what it does exclusively against Delta, and maybe that's what this is fine tuned for. Sam, I can see you there. You want to say something about this?
This is a list that I have thought about too that I think is really interesting on paper, but I've kind of come down on the side that the cam version of V1 lists are just stronger. So they're more dynamic in what they can do. So it didn't surprise me that you say, hey, this result to V1 cam versus V1 Iden, you had that result because there are two lists kind of tuned to do the same thing, but I think cam does it in a more flexible way.
And that's actually, it's interesting you bring that up, Sam, because that's what I kind of came to the conclusion to when Titus and I played 2 weeks ago when I played this list. I felt that the activations were just very lackluster. And when you say the word dynamic, that's what I felt is that there's just there's no dynamic impact play with this list. A lot of the time that changes the tide. Like, yes, an invader hit hard, they can wound. Again, maybe there's some lines of play here that I'm not getting. Maybe it's specifically to be into Delta. Maybe it's just such a fine-tuned meta list. And Chris has certain ways of doing it. I want to try it more, but I don't know. It's a tough one for me. I think it's really cool. He's done very well with it, but yeah. Titus, you're going to
like
chime in there?
obviously it's a good list in some circumstances if you have enough practice with it, but I don't personally like it because it feels like you're trading away any other real strength that the list could possibly have for just pure aggression, because it doesn't have a lot of out of activation mobility. Like, I think you're pretty much just Iden and DTE, and Iden's movement is pretty specific on who she's moving. You don't have much displacement, and in fact with ISF you're even trading away your potential to shove, and you are also trading away all the point control mechanics that Empire really has an advantage on over other factions. So it's like you're trading away a lot of the faction identity, displacement, movement, all to just kill things, and that can work. It's definitely not my play style, and I struggle to see how people make that.
And maybe that's maybe it's just not my playstyle either. Like I have sung the praises of Thrawn. I like Krennic, right? In terms of Empire primaries, right? And the dynamic stuff that those primaries bring, maybe it might be a playstyle thing. So yeah.
And again, like I said last week, I can definitely see how it would be good against these very aggressive point control lists where they are rushing the middle right away. It really, you don't need as much movement if your opponent is, moving their whole list up in the first turn. But I don't know. It's not for me.
That's all good. I'm going on a bit of a Han run here over the next little bit. We have a tournament coming up on November the 8th, and I am gonna get Han on the table. That's kind of my next little interest here. Sam, do you have anything that you've played or you're kind of into when we're kind of off season GTs right now?
Yeah, so a list that I'm now playing that I was interested in for GT season, I just didn't have enough time to get the reps in for it to really feel confident with it, is a Vader 1 cam list that plays Nadar and Phil's clones. Cam, Nadar, Phil's clones, Vader, Snips, Padawans.
Titus' eyes just lit up.
Oh yeah, I love Nadar with Vader. It's great.
Yeah, it does some great things, and there's some interesting synergies, and it does a really good job of recovering. One of the weaknesses of Vader lists that you can see in the item list is you take that damage and you one-shot something, but then it's really easy to one-shot you in return, right? Item with 2 less health, ISF with 2 less health, Pass with 2 less health. They can go down pretty quick. Because of the natural healing from the trees and because of Phil's clones, you can pretty consistently just top off everyone in this list after they've made attacks with Vader dice. So you're not suffering that same penalty. Also, Phil's clones, I think, are the only clones that can really take Vader's dice without it really impacting their survivability because of that recover on step 2. And they have decent melee expertise. So Phil's clones just kind of feel like they fit that synergistic niche there a little better than any of the other clones really did. And the other interesting thing I think that differs this from the item list is really just that cam identity allows the Vader play to become dynamic. Instead of Vader just going up, murdering 7 Scorch, and that's it. You murder 7 Scorch, and he moves someone else up the battlefield. You can swap snips for OB2 in these lists, and I've played that. I've also liked it. But there's a bunch of different interesting things you can do in those lists that I've been enjoying playing with that. And the other thing that's on my docket of to play is Lando stuff. Lando Jin specifically.
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
also very much looking forward to trying some Lando Jin in the
Okay,
off
Lando
season.
Jin.
Yeah.
All right, hit us with this one. What's this one about?
Well, it's about having Han and Chewie actually have the Force to do everything, right? So
Sweet.
you're gonna have Han and Chewie, you're gonna have Baze and Chirrut, you're gonna have two big supports that are always gonna have the Force to do whatever they want and have a fun time with that. That's the essential conceit of the list, right?
Yeah. And see, for my part, it's all about giving IG-11 every 5 dice attack I could possibly give him.
There you go.
And making it cheap with Jin. So
Yeah.
Nice. You mentioned kind of playing the double fives there, Sam. I was reading some stuff this past week on Discord as well too. That some people are playing Charming Leia Mando with the double fives as well too.
Yeah.
What's your take on playing double fives in lists right now?
So I think generally, and this is just true generally in Shatterpoint, that the floor of your list is largely decided by how good your supports are. And so by just taking two generically strong supports, you're going to have a baseline of good that you can build around and do decently well with, right? So like the Lando lists are obviously going to be weaker, I think, than a Leia Mando list or a Cassian version of the same thing, right? But they, as a baseline, give you just somewhere good that you can feel comfortable playing some of this other stuff.
Do you think supports are too good right now?
I mean, Baze and Chirrut certainly are, right? And there's an argument for maybe set 7 Scorch. I think that generally those supports have been the most defining unit in Shatterpoint since the beginning. Like when we've talked about like what are the best lists in Shatterpoint. Maybe this is a broad topic for another time, right? But like think of like original release at the time of original release, Magna cards, right? And like how they were just strictly better than what was out. And then other things came out on par with them and clones really fell behind. And then we start seeing, the rise of ISF and Dark Troopers that were just, hey, we're going to play these best things. And then they get hit in a nerf. And then there was some amount of parity, but people are sort of going to be like, we're going to bring Rebel Commandos, right? And then Baze and Chirrut hit, and they are the best thing, right? And oftentimes it feels like the best thing is defined by the best.
Yeah,
that's true.
And like there's definitely some units that kind of buck that trend, but I would agree that by and large the metas are defined by the supports ever since the start. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing too when we talk about kind of like winter season or like off GT lists like that we're discussing right now, is that it feels good for me sometimes to not just default to the best thing, right? Like not just defaulting, hey, Baze and Chirrut goes here or Han and Chewie go there. And I think for our tournament here on the 8th, I'm really going to try and just honestly just play stuff that I like, and it doesn't matter whether it's good or not.
Yeah.
And that's probably going into the new year as well too. Sweet. Awesome. All right. So we have a big event coming up. One of the marquee events of the year, Ministravaganza. That I think everybody who is interested in Shatterpoint listening here tonight is super, super excited for. We all kind of maybe have like a Santa's, Christmas wish list for Ministrav of what we want to see. So we just wanted to go through again, what we expect to see, what maybe we won't see, and then maybe like a crazy one like, oh my gosh, if I saw this, I would just blow my mind. So just want to go through some of that here. Titus, what are you hoping to see from Ministrav this year?
What am I? I'm going to go with what I expect to see to start.
Sure. Okay. Fair. Okay.
I think we'll get a spoiler for one of the cards in the upcoming boxes to start with.
Just
because
one?
that seems to be the thing they've been doing, where like when they did Baze and Chirrut, they showed us the one card and then we had to wait a while for the actual spoiler. I think we'll see 2 or 3 boxes coming up. Really hope one of them is Separatist, because that's really the faction that needs to be fleshed out. I don't really know what else, like probably a terrain piece. Like,
okay, awesome. What do you think we maybe won't see that people have been talking about?
I don't think we'll see droidicas. This might be a hot take, but
Kyle
don't think they're gonna get them.
Kyle's editing this and it gets to this part and his heart just stabs.
I want them so bad, but I don't think we're gonna get them because it's the Ingress Point issue. Droidicas can't climb ladders. You can't convince me
gonna
those
like
things can
roll
climb
and
a
like
ladder.
pop up on an ingress or something like that. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I guess
like those things can't climb ladders. Like we joke about, oh, have you ever seen Vader on a ladder? But like that's a whole other issue than a Droidica.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Awesome. All right, Sam, what do you have here on your list for Ministrav?
What do I expect to see? I expect to see Separatists fleshed out a bit more. I do expect not a lot more. I just expect another box for Separatists. Just kind of that slow trickle that they've done. I also so that's what I expect. What I don't expect is something akin to year one release schedule. I know that's been a hope that we're just going to get like that this is going to be Shatterpoint's year and we're just going to get like a ton of stuff back to back to back. Yeah. I do expect that it's going to pick up, that we aren't going to have the same, like, had a really like kind of long dearth of releases here. I do expect to see more, like last time we just kind of had, hey, here's like 2 boxes coming. I expect for them to announce probably the 4 to 5 new boxes coming out in the first half.
Okay. Any particular characters on the wish list?
Well, my like deep wish list, I want to see Qui-Gon. He's like right at the top of my wish list. I would love to see Geonosians, and the other character that's like a love of mine that I'd love to see is like a Luthen Rail Lots with like Leia and some other Andor characters.
Yeah,
I'm gonna jump in with my wish list real quick. I want Fallen Order boxes. I want Cal Kestis and his box,
sweet.
And I want Second Sister with her box.
Okay, and we're adding that era to the game by doing that.
Well, no, that would be the same era as CT, the same era as I guess Krennic.
The era does need fleshing out. That'd be a great way to do it.
And they fit perfectly into that, and they also make great boxes because it's Second Sister as Ninth Sister and the Purge Troopers. That's a shoo-in right there. Cal's got 3 companions on the ship, and that's pretty. I couldn't see Grease actually being on the table, but like the others probably.
One thing that interesting you guys both haven't mentioned, any new mission packs?
I don't know. Like if a mission pack comes, I would be happy, but I'm also, even with only 4 missions, I'm pretty happy competitively with just like these are the things. I don't feel a pressing need of like we need this in competitive play. What I would love to see though are more of the event kit like stuff. Like, did you guys play the Cassian Andor event kit with the specialized mission?
No, so that is one thing that I think collectively as a community and a group that we always like say like, hey, we should do this, but we never actually do it.
Yeah,
we want to try them. Yeah,
there doesn't seem much interest, at least in our area, for alternate game types and stuff. We've brought it up a few times and it just never takes off.
Yeah, so we played it less of like an organized tournament thing, just like hey, instead of one of our regular scheduled gatherings, let's do this kit. And it was, our community just really enjoyed that. It was something different. Like, it's not a type of game mode that me personally am going to play a lot, but sitting down, playing through this thematic story type of game mode just once was a really great time. And I appreciate that they do make these game modes. It's just kind of like a fresh spin. And there are some people in my community that loved it, right? That mode is now just a part of their like regular play. They might show up to the shop and be like, I want to play this mission today, because it gives the cards and the tokens for every player to play that mission in the kit. So
geez, you said we need to do that, because like I said, that exact scenario is something that we've talked about so many times, and we've just never, we got caught up in GT season and practicing. You know how it goes, right? We need to definitely need to get that on the table. All right, so time for my list. I'm gonna maybe drop some stuff here a little bit more specific here, and then we can figure it out. I think you're right, Titus. I think we'll probably see 1 card from the Morgan and Balin boxes. I don't think they'll reveal the whole thing. It seems to be the trend now. I had mission pack. That's why I kind of mentioned you guys that you hadn't mentioned one, that maybe we might see a mission pack or mention of a mission pack. I hope to see kind of from the TO side of things. I hope to see the next few league and store kits and kind of what those look like, right? Because they said that there was going to be very specific intervals. I think it was like every quarter or every 3 months or whatever that they were going to release those. So to see like what our next set of like the foil order cards and all that kind of stuff looks like and what characters were chosen out of those, for me is really exciting. And I know there's a lot of people out there that play the game that really enjoy having those. Yeah, Geonosians with Poggle. I think that's something they've already alluded to that is coming. So I think we will see Geonosians. A particular interest of mine is to flesh out bounty hunters more. I have a few ideas that I would maybe like to see. I've always talked about a Jabba's Palace pack, very similar to the secondary pack that they released for the Empire bounty hunters. So exploring who was in Jabba's palace at that time and introducing those characters into the game. I think it would be really, really cool.
Would love a Gamorrean support.
Yeah, Gamorreans or whoever.
Bib Fortuna. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of that direction. And maybe a bounty hunter primary with a box. So a bounty hunter Asajj, I know that's one that Kyle's mentioned, or maybe like something like an Embo, I think would be very, very interesting as a bounty hunter primary. And an associated box with that. And then I'll throw a crazy one out there. Jar Jar Binks.
I'd be down. I'd love it.
Anybody down for a little Jar Jar Binks? You know?
I would honestly love more episode 1 stuff, like get Captain Panaka in there.
Exactly. Jar Jar Binks, episode 1. Put him in the.
I'm a big Phantom Menace fan. You could even have 2 primaries in the box. You could have Jar Jar and Boss Nass, and then like Tarpals as your secondary and some Gungan supports.
I have such a hard time seeing Jar Jar as a primary.
He's a Bombad general.
Hey, I was going to say, he got there. Wrong. He started off slow, but he got there, right? Yeah. So that's that's my list there. I think the main thing too, is just maybe fleshing out bounty hunters a little bit more. Morgan, and I hope maybe Balin might help out Empire a bit. I really hope Morgan's box is tagged Empire, because Lord knows my faction needs it.
She's in Tales of the Empire. She has to be tagged.
I would think so. And like zombie stormtroopers. It just makes sense. Now, I think it's wishful thinking for Balin's box to be tagged Empire. I think we'll see like Scoundrel or some other tags for them, but I don't think specifically Empire. But yeah, Morgan's box I really, really hope will be.
I think it will be.
Yeah.
I do wonder if the zombie stormtroopers will actually get the stormtrooper tag. And like I have thoughts on this, because all the stormtrooper like synergies are based on them having specific tactics they do together, and I don't think any of them were ever taught how to work with zombies. Just in general, like none of their abilities would make sense synergizing with these random Dathomirian zombies.
Yeah, that's true.
But like it would be really cool if they did get the tag.
Yeah. And then I wonder if there's going to be some sort of an ability that Morgan has that like she like controls them or gives them like additional abilities or health, like to keep them going. You know what I mean? Like just using her magic abilities. And I'm very, very interested in how the vision for her specifically as a primary is going to be fleshed out in the game.
Yeah. But there's all kinds of speculation we could do for that.
Some mixture of like some Hera-esque or Padme-esque stuff about making your zombies, essentially come back to life, or who knows.
I feel like that might end up being something that's on the zombies card, though, to be honest, because you don't necessarily want her waking up your other supports in a way that isn't as thematic.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Yeah, that is... Ministrav is November 15th or 16th, if I'm remembering that date correctly. It's only a couple of weeks away, so should be awesome to see what's coming up for the game. Let's move on to our primary spotlight, which is General Veers in the maximum firepower box. Titus?
All right, General Veers. So, with General Veers, we have a 7-point primary with 3 force. For some reason, every time I'm building him, I'm thinking like 2 force, because that just seems to be the normal for 7-pointers, but he still has 3 force, which is important because his lists tend to like to spend it quite a bit. So he's got a durability of 3, stamina of 9, so pretty run-of-the-mill for a primary. He's not like super squishy, but he's on the low end for primaries. Going through his abilities in order, we'll start with the tactic. You have your orders at the start of the unit's activation. Choose a Galactic Empire secondary unit or an allied stormtrooper unit. One character in the chosen unit may dash. So pretty run-of-the-mill tactic. You dash one character. It's not range restricted, so we're not kind of in Dooku territory, but it's still fairly limited. Just one singular dash, any of your secondaries, but only a stormtrooper if you're going for a support. Next up, I will have results. It costs 1 force. It's an active ability. Choose an allied stormtrooper supporting character within 4. The chosen character may dash. They may gain a hunker, remove one condition from itself, or make a 5-die attack. It's just tactical network, but for stormtroopers instead of droids. Again, fairly simple ability. We've seen it before. It can be quite strong depending on what support you're triggering with it. My favorites would be the Shore Trooper or the Death Troopers. They actually have good attacks. But even with going with like the stormtroopers themselves, the chance of you putting a pin on someone does synergize well with Veers' kit. Next, he has an innate called Prepare for a Surface Attack. At the end of setup, before shuffling your order deck, choose an allied stormtrooper unit. You may place that unit card in reserve, then each character in the chosen unit may dash. Additionally, when an allied stormtrooper unit card is in reserve, characters in that unit add 1 die to their defense rolls. So really kind of 2 different abilities. This is one of the main reason you see Veers taken, is that you can guarantee a specific activation at the start, provided it's a stormtrooper, of course. And also it is a form of forward deployment. I actually did the math on it a while back, and it's almost identical to a range 3 deployment, depending on terrain. If you get an ingress point, you can get further. If there's terrain in the way, it's a little bit shorter. But in general, it's another way to forward deploy. One thing I actually think gets overlooked quite a bit is the extra die in defense. That can be huge, especially for the Shore Troopers or Death Troopers, because they already have some good defensive tech, especially with the Shore Troopers having steadfast. It makes things very tough to attack through, but you have to make sure they're in reserve. Finally, Veers has an identity. We are the Storm. At the end of this unit's activation, choose an objective. Each enemy character within 2 of the chosen objective may dash. Then, each enemy unit within 2 of the chosen objective suffers 3 damage, and each allied unit within 2 of the objective suffers 1. This is Veers' big, showy, flashy ability that really feels like what he was built to leverage, and it's very tricky to play effectively. Because unless you are very much building up for this ability, you're just giving your opponent mobility, which isn't really what you want. And on top of that, you're not giving yourself any mobility, which we've seen very recently, that these sorts of point bombing abilities are just as, if not more useful, to just give your own units movement. Whereas with here, Veers can't do that. It is nice that it is a little asymmetrical. Enemies take 3, you only take 1. So it can be good to just be like, hey, clear off this point, I want to take it. And if you don't, you're going to be punished. So you don't necessarily have to go for the damage, but it's very hard to make effective use of this ability. And it's a shame, because it's one of the cooler abilities in the game, in my opinion. Any comments?
Yeah, when Veers first got spoiled, I gotta say I was super excited. I think Veers, from a design perspective, is a very, very cool primary who maybe fell victim to some of his abilities being worked or written in ways that just, in terms of how they play on the board, don't turn out to be as effective as initially thought. Is that a fair assessment, guys?
100%.
Yeah. And to that point, talking about we are the Storm, I think that, I don't want to say design failures, but design weaknesses kind of definitely informed future things. When we look at We Are the Storm, it has some very clear weaknesses. One, it is giving your opponent movement at the worst possible time for you, after they have full information of what you've done on your turn, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Right
doubly
at the end of the
punishing in
turn.
that way. Right? And if they give you movement away afterwards, so it's like they may move and then your characters may move, who are also contesting it, then you're getting the benefit of that information, right? So then you can choose, do I stay here and take some damage, right? Also, the punishment effect, like we've seen other punishment effects in like Cad Bane, where it's like you move away or you get conditions. But if you move away, you also get conditions. But this is just move away, and if you move away, nothing bad happens to you, right? And so, like maybe it's like any character who moves still takes 1 damage. You still want something bad to happen if they choose the other effect, right?
I feel like the punishment was meant to be, I get the point, but it rarely works out that way.
Yeah, it's just the type of thing. They're going to move away if it doesn't impact them getting the point, and they're going to stay there if that's going to keep them the point, right? So,
And then I guess, like I was saying, like my first initial thought was like, I need a list with as many pins as possible. Have you guys ever found playing Veers or seeing Veers, like even if you have a list that has a ton of pins, does that help? Or is there still ways to get around this ability?
Strain also subs in quite nicely for that. I mean, that's one of the main ways you get utility out of Veers. And it is a bit of an uphill struggle, but he is a fun unit to play. Honestly, every game I've played with him, I've had a blast, even though I haven't won very many of those games. And We Are the Storm is a big part of it.
Yeah. How would we change this ability, guys? If you had the ability to change it?
I already noted a couple things. 1, I would allow allied movements to move. And 2, I would have, hey, any enemy unit that moves takes damage. Right, the big bomb has gone off. There's been some bombardment. You've gotten out of the main blast radius. You've still taken a little bit, right?
I like the 1 damage if you do move. That I feel like does a lot to fix it. Honestly, while this ability is tough to use, I don't think it needs a lot of tweaking. I would rather see something that gives Veers mobility on his card. I think that does a lot more to fix him than anything else on his other abilities.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's before we get in too deep, let's go over his stance cards real quick. So, like any other primary, he has 2 sides to him. One is more melee focused, one's more ranged focused. Starting with Let the Rabble Come. This is the melee side. It's got much more is a little damage heavier front loaded, but it doesn't push very easily. And he has heals on his ranged expertise here for some reason, which really threw me off on Thursday night because I was attacking with it, and all of a sudden one's like, I heal when I'm attacking on my expertise. This is weird. I've never seen this before. In general, it's, he has a good number of dice on both his attack and defense. It's nothing to write home about, but he's fairly good defensively compared to some of the other 9 hit point primaries, but nothing crazy. At the other side, Lay Siege. This is more the ranged focused one. You do get shoves early on this one. There is still healing on it. It's more spread out. And a lot of the damage is backloaded, which both sides have a free force ability. But on this side, if you go with the free force ability, you're really capping how much damage you can deal. Also something to note. Neither of his sides do much in terms of condition, but at least Lay Siege gives a strain, which synergizes with We Are the Storm, as I mentioned before. Anything else you guys would note about his attack trees or expertise or whatever?
His defensive expertise is bad for a primary, like within the bottom rung of primary defensive expertise. Not quite Grievous level bad, but bad. No. And he has a surprising amount of boxes with only a single symbol, which is just, for a 7-point primary, I think you're kind of sad about to see there are 5 different boxes between his 2 trees that only have a single icon.
To be fair, it's pretty standard for the free force ability to be on its own. I think the only one who has stuff with it is Kiadi and maybe Kanan. But I will agree that, just a condition on its own or just a shove is not what you want to be seeing on a primary.
Yeah, I think, do you think that maybe they did that because they felt that his abilities, especially the bomb, were going to be more impactful? And that this was kind of a way to balance him out a bit?
So this is complete speculation. Here's what I thought they thought was going to be too impactful. And this is coming from their previous experience, I think, with MCP, is I think they thought the auto reserve locking turn 1 plays, they thought hey, that's a very powerful thing in MCP that you have pre-mapped turn 1 plays that do incredibly powerful things.
That's fair,
I think that was the valve that they were worried around balancing around, right? So that they tuned him back in a lot of other places. We're hey, we're giving this very powerful thing that we've seen break one of our other main games. We need to be conservative in the rest of his kit.
That's very fair. Yeah, and we saw Dean.
Sense,
we saw Dean at one of the Torchlight GTs, the one in January, I think, do that exact thing, right? Where you were doing the DTE. It was Veers, Inferno Squad, pre-bounce, and that was a very, very effective kind of gotcha opening that if you didn't know what was happening, you were in big trouble.
Yeah.
So,
It's very similar to that Delta opening we're seeing right now,
yes.
except it doesn't cost any force. So it was real punishing.
Yeah. And Inferno Squad at that time was really propping up Veers and the rest of that box to be able to get that open. And they were really the firepower or like the after effect of getting that, of getting that opening. Right. So yeah, I think you're right there, Sam. Okay, I'll go through what's in the rest of the box here. We have the aforementioned Snowtrooper Lieutenant that Titus played. So he is a 4-point secondary unit with a couple of good abilities here. He's got a movement ability called Press On, Dogged Assault, and another allied Stormtrooper unit within 4 makes combat action. All attacks have been resolved. The attacking unit may make a take cover action. A commanding presence when allied Galactic Empire trooper character within 3 would gain a condition. It may suffer damage instead, which is interesting to keep conditions cleared. And then only Imperial Stormtroopers are so precise. Basically, units have Sharpshooter 1. He's 9 health, 2 stamina. And again, interestingly, Titus, as you mentioned, on his attack tree, again, we see some heals, right? First box heal, 6 range dice, 5 melee, 5 and 5 defense with basically clone armor, kind of defense here. And then we have the Snowtroopers, who are a 3-point support with Force March. Start of this unit's activation may suffer 1 if it does. Remove a condition. Assault tactics, we've seen this before for Force. Each character may dash, and then they have Sharpshooter 1 as well too. 5 and 5 on ranged and melee, 5 and 4 ranged defense, and 4 melee defense. Again, not great defenses. And again, 2 heals on the second box. So that seems to be a theme with this box is a lot of heals. And I think as Titus mentioned, we're not 100% sure where they were going with this. Is that kind of...
It's a lot of the Veers and other early Imperial stuff was very focused on dealing damage to itself for a benefit. And then healing it off, which I think is a really cool mechanic. It's just their expertise and the number of dice they have were both very low, so you're doing damage to yourself to get a benefit, but your stat line is so bad to start with that that benefit was dubious at best, because there's other factions where they have a normal stat line and they're getting a focus without having to deal damage to themselves. And it's like, well, why am I going to all this work when the Mandalorians are right there? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm especially low on Snowtrooper Lieutenant. I know you've said you liked him, Titus. I think Lieutenant is one of the 2 worst secondaries in the entire game. It's either him or Firebrand.
So I also like Firebrand. So my case for the Storm or Snowtrooper Lieutenant is that it's bad, to be completely clear right up front. If he was a 3-point, I would feel like he's a reasonable cost. That said, I felt that commanding presence in particular can be leveraged to give you a lot of benefit. That's not to say it makes up for a lackluster activation, but it can do things that is difficult to do anywhere else, where you just go, I don't feel like taking this condition. I don't want to take that strain. I don't want to take that pin because it's going to mess up my plan. I'm just going to take a damage instead. And when you have enough healing on your list, which, I mean, that's the one thing this seems to do well, those damages can be taken off at a later date, but not having the condition now is the important part. The rest of the card is not great. It's mainly just the commanding presence and to an extent dogged assault, mainly because it doesn't conflict with coordinated fire. So it's like having a second coordinated fire on your attack. It's like you really have to make use of those 2 abilities to even come close to pulling his weight. I find there's other secondaries that don't even have that benefit to them. And I'm glad C-3PO got his glow up and is actually useful now. But there's certain units in the game that I don't feel, they're just bad with no redeeming qualities. At least Snowtrooper Lieutenant does something unique.
Okay.
But that's my take on it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna run way off this because we've talked about a number of things. What does this box do well? What do we like about this box? What are we extracting from the positive end? If someone is listening to this episode who likes Veers as a character, what are some redeeming qualities within this box that we can suggest?
Unique abilities. And that
Yeah.
would be the main thing.
Okay.
Prepare for
Cool.
a surface attack is something no one else gets access to, whether it's the auto reserve or just extra defense die because you're in reserve, which, yes, there's other characters that give free defense die. Logray comes to mind, but the Stormtroopers already have high defense dice pools. So I find that that's definitely an advantage. And We Are the Storm is fun. Like, yes, it's not great, but there's value to be had in fun.
Okay. Yeah. Say that. Okay. Sammy, take off the GT killer hat here and tell me some redeeming qualities about Veers' box.
So I do agree actually with Titus that the Veers box has some really unique abilities, right? That you can see the design vision of like trying to do cool and unique things. And I like playing around Veers because of that. Like the auto reserve is a neat ability that you can do cool stuff with, right? And as is We Are the Storm, and it's kind of cool to have this primary who's all about commanding other people and not about doing the cool thing themselves, right? And so you get that in this box. If that's what you're looking for, that's the team that you want, that's what you get here. And that is a cool thing to have on the table, especially in a Star Wars game. So it speaks to something unique. It has a cool niche, and there is something to be said about like building a team around heals. This box can allow you to do different things. Like you can build around Veers' bomb, build around the troopers just having lots of heals, and you're gonna be defensive, right? You can do interesting things with that where you're like, I'm gonna commit to this aspect of the game and explore it via these models. And that's what this box can allow you to do. Like I want to, so we're gonna get to lists here, and I've chosen a specific aspect of the game that I think that we've talked about already, that Veers is unique around. I want to explore this aspect of the game, and Veers is a vehicle that allows for that.
One thing I will say, I think Veers does really well because of his abilities and the healing in the box is he feels like he's excels at static defense, which is not a play style that this game rewards. It's actually kind of why I went with odds when I went to play this, because it feels like the option that most rewards being able to stick to a point and get a lot of that healing and just be tough on a point. Because if you can get enough just weight of bodies on 3 of the 5 points to start out with, you can really like dig in defensively a lot more than a lot of other options out there. I mean, I know that there's, things like 7 Scorch where they just kind of are really tough anyway. But with the right makeup, Veers can really complement that. It's not a playstyle the game rewards, which is a shame because I actually have a lot of fun with that kind of thing. Like that turtling playstyle is something I enjoy in a lot of different games. And he does it well. It's just, it's not great here.
Yeah, the way the game's evolved. I mean, the turtle up and kind of defensive playstyles just don't hit as well. Sam, you alluded to lists. Let's move into our lists here. I'll start us off as we usually like to do. We like to do just a box plus box suggestion for those that maybe just getting into the game or haven't really explored too much into Empire. So I'm gonna put Veer's box maximum firepower next to Fear and Deadman. So this is Vader, V2, as he's commonly known, along with Stormtrooper Sergeant and Stormtroopers. So we are going maximum Stormtrooper synergy here. What I really, really like about this is Vader 2 also brings a very, very hard, as a hard-hitting primary. It brings a lot of damage, can hold and control a point. Obviously on the wound, gives it a little bit of extra movement to the list as well too with the dash. Stormtrooper Sergeant giving additional movement with his tactic to the supports, along with all the other movement you get in this list here as well too, along with everything that Veers is doing. I think if you are looking to start out with a pairing for Veers, this is a good place to start if you just want to go to your local game store and just pick up 2 boxes. What do you guys think?
And the surplus of pins between the two stormtrooper units
Exactly, yes.
really helps. It's the easiest way to trigger We Are the Storm in a profitable way is to pin things.
Yeah, because
So
I
I
think,
like
I think
that.
the only thing that doesn't pin is Veers, Snowtrooper Lieutenant, and V2, and everything else does, right? So Sergeant can pin, and you're getting some pins off of the expertise charts as well, too, with a lot of these units, like the Stormtroopers, Stormtrooper Sergeants. So there are a lot of ways to pin and lock stuff down for that bomb as well, too. Reserving Stormtrooper Sergeant here is actually a really good move as well, too, because you put him into reserve with that ability, because Sergeant can sometimes be not a great activation, so you get to have some ownership of when he's going to go and when you get that support movement. Awesome. Titus, hit us with your list, buddy.
So for this one, I went with General Veers, the Stormtrooper Sergeant, and the Shore Troopers. Across from him, I actually went Cad Bane, Death Trooper Escort, and Han and Chewie. Now, the reason I went kind of this route is Han and Chewie have their kind of payday ability, which lets them become stormtroopers. And a lot of that stormtrooper synergy is something that they really benefit from. They have a great 5-die attack. And when they themselves go, they can get the extra dice from coordinated offensive from the stormtrooper sergeant, which adding extra dice to Han and Chewie makes them get that force refresh a little more reliably. I also found that because I'm spending a lot of that force and I want a 9-point primary there, I went with Cad instead of Krennic, because Krennic limits your force instead of giving you extra, whereas Cad, you get that refresh every time you're killing something. You're not necessarily killing something super regularly, but as long as you get 1 or 2 wounds during the round, you're going to have a net positive or even at least break even. It's in terms of why I took the Shore Troopers instead of Death Troopers. I find with that forward deployment, being able to put them on a point, having that extra dice on their defense rolls, they have a better defensive ability to stay on the point, which is where Veers excels. I do like the Death Troopers, but if I have to pick one over the other in a Veers list, I'd go Shores every time. And that's a personal playstyle preference. I know a lot of people like the deaths because they help get Veers up there. But as Sam noted earlier, Veers has bad defense. So why do I want him up for moving up forward?
Yeah, I think I would choose Shore Troopers with the Veers list as well too. The Death Troopers pair really well with Krennic because he needs that extra ability to steal a point at the end of his turn, right? So I think that they pair much better with him. And yeah, I would agree. And I've been super impressed when I played the Shore Troopers. They're tough. And I think, honestly, they're a bit of an underrated Empire support unit. I mean, I'll be honest with you.
If I'm going true Empire, I want both, to be perfectly clear, in a Veers list. Because I want a Stormtrooper. And both are very good. I was excited to put Han and Chewie with him because they do get that Stormtrooper synergy when they want to. I mean, they're already dressed for the part, so...
They are.
Awesome. Cool. All right, Sam, you already alluded to it. Hit us with this crazy list of yours, sir.
Yeah, so I wanted to explore just the bomb aspect. How much splash damage can I do in a list that can be playable on the table in an interesting way? So first we started off which primary do I put Veers next to if I just want to maximize doing splash damage? And the two standout primaries for that are Cassian or Boss. They do the most bomb damage, right? And Cassian just synergizes better with out of faction stuff than Boss does. So I end up with Cassian, right? Then I look at secondaries. I'm I want more bombs. So we have Bosk under Veers and Chewie under Cassian, right? Chewie can also provide some heals and extra defense for Veers here, right? And then we're going to finish it out. We're going to bring our Shore Troopers because I agree they're underrated. We want some Stormtrooper synergies. We need to get that pre-reserve. Someone to move around with Veers. They're going to be defensive, force people to move them with Cassian triggers to move Veers off. Or somebody else, then 5-point under Cassian, making sure it helps the force economy. There's nobody else with bombs there that I could put in. But you have 4 units that are just doing damage without attacking here, right? And I think there's some interesting... So the problem with this is it takes 6 different boxes to build this list. So this is
this is not new player friendly, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. If you want to do the new player friendly one, the Vader Veers one is the way to go. But this one is really just hey, I want to explore this aspect of the game. this mechanic is interesting. I want to push this to its maximum to see like how much damage can I really push up just without attacking, and how impactful is that on the decisions my opponent has to make. And do they have to stand away from points now just because of the threat of so much damage? It's an interesting thought process and unique thing just to be like, I'm trying to do this one specifically.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say this is a very Titus list, like just kind of like mad scientist, something that Titus we'd be playing a Thursday night at Doom
I don't
Grounds
have a
and
monopoly on crazy lists.
Well, I know, but no, this is something that we'd be a Thursday and Titus might bring up as well too. So I don't know. Yeah. That's amazing.
No,
Cool.
if I was running it, it would have Firebrand in it because Firebrand also bombs points, but is Imperial.
That's right. More tag synergy. Of course.
Also a much worse unit than Chewie, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, listen, you've been championing Nadar for how long now, my friend? To the amazement, I think, of most of the internet
He's
and
catching
Shatterpoint
on.
players.
He'll catch on any day now.
It'll happen. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So I think those are 3 very, very interesting lists across, as we always try and do across the spectrum. If you want just 2 boxes, go to the local game store, pick 2 stuff up to start playing Veers, Titus, and then Sam. If you happen to have all 6 of those boxes, slam them together and give it a try. Awesome.
I do find it funny how there always ends up being a list that you just kind of shove scoundrels into it. There's something about those scoundrels that just
That's true.
They're fun to brew with.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Any last thoughts here, guys, on Veers at this box or anything else in terms of his gameplay that we wanted to touch on?
I just want to reiterate that, he's not the most competitively viable. This box is a lot of fun. So even if you don't necessarily go out and buy it, if you know someone who has it, at least give it a try. Like it is in a casual game. This is a lot of fun to play around with. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. I think this is a box too that will eventually get touched by a rebalance, particularly with the secondary and the supports. Again, I think as you, Titus, you mentioned, Veers as a primary really doesn't need much or shouldn't get much, but I think definitely the secondaries and supports need some help. So, okay. Thank you, Sam, so much for joining us tonight, buddy. Again, one of our favorite people in the game. I didn't mention too, actually, the first GT champion of a Canadian GT. Thanks for taking that from us, buddy. Really appreciate it. No, that was great. That was the first GT we had in Hamilton. No sour grapes there. It was great to have you up and win that one back in the day. Anything you want to mention? You're part of the Zion's Finest crew. Where can we find you? What are you guys up to with that?
Yeah, so if you haven't checked out the Zion's Finest podcast, you can find us YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And we talk about competitive Shatterpoint. We just released our episode on the Sci-Fi GT. And we'll be talking about just general concepts more during this off season. So if that's something you're interested in, find us there. I'm on many of the Discords. You can find me on Coordinated Fire Discord. You can find me on the Zion's Finest Slack. Samuel Sweet and everywhere, so I'm easy to find.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, buddy, for coming out tonight and talking to us. As always, you can find our Discord in the show notes as well, too. Our Discord's been hopping. We got all of the West Coast guys in from the BC GT in our Discord now, so welcome everybody in there. Link will be in the show notes. Appreciate everybody for listening. Thanks. Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Looks like we got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.